and gentlemen, what is good? Kanye, Twitty, WTFW podcast. This is debut. We are doing our first ever video interview. We showing, but first let's get the nonsense out of the way. At WTFW Trash on the Twitter, the TikTok, the Instagram. It's your boy Kanye Twitty. Down here we got
Nemean Lion in the building.
Nemean Lion, as usual, here on the WWE podcast. And I'm just this guy's crazy. This is somebody we've seen at independent shows. I'm gonna let him introduce himself. Sir.
Yeah,
you.
Hey,
Go ahead, tell people.
Talking head guy, orange shirt guy. How are you? Greetings and salutations. I'm Drexl. Homicidal artist, maybe a deathmatch darling. I don't know. I enjoy cutting people with paper and then stapling said paper to their head. I'm just a run-of-the-mill, just an average Joe. How are you guys on this fine Sunday afternoon?
I'm questioning my life decisions to wake up this morning.
I do that all the time. It's amazing, after a good match, you roll around enough glass, and you take the shower. It's not the death matches that suck. It's the shower afterwards. That's where you're standing there, and you're just trying to pull out bits and pieces so they don't get stuck in you, because then you get infections, and you got to go to hospitals, and that costs money. And I'm an independent wrestler, so I have no money. But I mean, like that shower that makes you question all of your choices in life of like, how did I get here? Because, at one point in my life, I have a college degree and I used to be on billboards and I was a radio star. And somehow I've become Drexl over the last, 18 years of my life in pro wrestling.
Wow, 18 years.
Yeah, I've been doing this a long time. I'm really old. I fart dust.
Don't worry. I think Nemean Lion does that too, and he's not old. He just farts dust. Well, hey, you say these death matches. Has that been a thing? Like, is that what got you into wrestling? Have you been doing it since you got there? Because that's all I've ever seen. And you're a crazy dude.
I've been a connoisseur of wrestling since I was a wee little toddler in Detroit. I was the white kid with the big mouth that used to fight a lot. Used to get stomped a lot because you look like me, you're kind of different. And I ended up in radio, and people considered a star. I guess at one point in my life I played basketball with Will Smith. And I smoked pot with Justin Timberlake. So I've done lots of crazy things in my life way before I ever got into wrestling. But I ended up in Portland, in the Rose City out here, and I was doing a morning show. And Portland wrestling was still on TV. So I contacted them because why not? And it said, hey, you want to do a cross promotion? I'm a radio DJ. I'm really good at talking and stuff. And they said, okay. But then they had this whole idea of if I was going to come in, you got to take full advantage of it. So they said, hey, how about we're going to send you to, we've got a ring set up, and you can learn how to protect yourself in the ring, because we want to do a little angle with you, and a guy's going to beat you up, and they'll put a snake on you. You're not afraid of snakes, are you? Of course I'm not afraid of snakes. And so they sent me down, and this man named the Grappler, Len Denton, who is a Pacific Northwest legend, he was there, and there was a couple other wrestlers who don't even wrestle anymore, a guy named Exile, a guy named Kate Matthews. They're insignificant and don't even matter. But they were there, and for 2 months, twice a week, for 2 months, I would go there, and Grappler would make me roll and make me learn how to fall, and he would make me run the ropes, and they would give me hip tosses and arm drags, and then they would put me in the corner, and they would chop the living shit out of me. And their number one goal, as I found out, was how many marks can we put on this radio DJ so that he will go back to his show and talk about how real pro wrestling is. And see, what they didn't expect is that I would keep showing up for those 2 months, because they didn't realize I've been watching wrestling since, we lad, not many friends. I was very much, I was before the Columbine times, but later on in life, people said to me, hey, remember you in school? You wore a trench coat and you had combat boots and you could have been like Columbine. I look at him, I'm like, yeah, I really probably should have, but that's bad. Never mind. But anyway, I went through that, and then I joined into Portland Wrestling in my very first show, and I'm getting to do ring announcing, and I was doing backstage interviews and starting to do color commentary, and they did this whole thing with the grappler, and these other wrestlers came out, and like as I was going through this, I'm a radio DJ. I'm not a wrestler. So they want to reassure me, and they're like, this guy's just he'll boot you in the stomach, and then he's gonna give you a DDT. He's gonna put the snake on you and stuff. But I get to the show, and this guy who is a total predator and a horrible person and has been long gone from the scene, thank God, for at least 14, 15 years now. And I'm glad I'm never going to give him the popularity of saying his name out loud. But he decides to let me know, hey, I'm not going to DDT you. I don't do a DDT. A DDT is bullshit. That's for pussies. And I do a double underhook pile driver. I'm just a radio DJ. I'm a big fan of pro wrestling. I know what the said move is, and I say, oh, okay, well, I've never done that. Could we at least try it? And you can show me what I need to do. He said, oh yeah, no problem. And at the time, before I kind of ripped a bunch of my hair out in the top of my head, I used to have long flowing hair, so I had a decent amount of hair. And he tells me how to hook, and he picks me up, and we go through it a few times, and it's all good. My hair hits the mat, but I'm fine. And then they start rolling, and we would tape four shows in one day's taping. It was 4 TV shows for the entire month was all done in one day. And so here comes my big angle. I'm in the ring. I get surrounded by all these heels. This guy boots me, picks me up, and stuffs me right on the top of my head in the ring. and he puts the snake on me, and they're already planning on doing the whole stretcher thing to sell it. But in reality, I probably should have needed a stretcher, because as they're carrying me out and I get in the back and they walk me into the locker room with the stretcher, he walks up to me and he smacks me on the cheek and goes, how's your neck, kid? And not wanting to sell it and not wanting to give in to this, because I grew up in Detroit. I've been beat up a lot. I said, a little stiff, thank you very much. And I shook his hand. And that was the start of my wrestling career about 18 years ago. Because when I started, I was told I didn't deserve to be in this business. All I was a goddamn radio DJ. I didn't deserve my spot on TV because I didn't go wrestle in front of 5 people down at Sandy Bar's flea market every single Tuesday night. And so while all those people like to spew that nonsense, I continued on, and a guy named Dr. Luther, who now works for AEW, he saw a little bit of talent in me. And Luther, he kind of took me under his wing, and he knew that, at this point, I was 30 years old. I was starting in the wrestling industry at 30 years old, so like 29, 30. So I'm not a spring chicken, and I'm a radio DJ. Yes, I am about 5'11", but when I train with Norman Smiley, he told me, always say 6 foot. You're close enough. So I'm 6 foot, and on a good day, maybe 187 pounds. So Luther knew I was never going to have a body, but he knew that I could be really entertaining. So Luther started teaching me in my head what to do and how to get reactions and how to tell stories, because I was never going to be an athlete like everyone else. So I learned how to tell stories early on, and then I went from Luther, and Portland Wrestling fell apart, and they ended, and then I hooked up with Playboy Buddy Rose, who I'm happy to say I am the only student of Playboy Buddy Rose to never give him money. I worked a small angle with him on a show where essentially his back was really bad at the time, and the idea was he was first going to post me, so I was going to bleed for the first time that night, and Playboy Buddy Rose was going to be the one to throw me into this post, but Playboy said, my back is too bad, I'm trying to push you, it won't look good, blah, blah, blah. He's like, what if you jump up on the apron, and I'll give you a light tug on your feet, and you can come down, and I said, yeah, no problem, and when Buddy touched my foot, I literally went completely horizontal and smacked into the floor, and I made it look like $1 million because, this is Playboy Buddy Rose. And we got done with the show, and he gave me a big hug and said, thank you for making me look so good. And at that point, he was just in the process of reopening his school because him and Colonel De Beers' school had been shut down for a little while. And Buddy said, do not tell anyone. But from this point forward, if anyone asks you who trained you, you tell them Playboy Buddy Rose, and you are going to come to the school, and you are not going to pay for the school, but I just want to pass on knowledge for you. So then I train with Playboy Buddy Rose, and then I'm wrestling in the scene, and in this point, I'm dealing with asshole promoters, and I start this little company called DOA that is getting ready to do 15-year anniversary. This coming September will be 15 years for DOA, and then from DOA, I end up going to Florida down to FCW, and I go do their school, and I get to train with Norman Smiley, Mr. Big Wiggle, Mr. Shooter in the real life, Mr. Black Magic, along with Mike Graham, son of Eddie Graham. And I got to do things like I wrestled in front of The Undertaker. And I've done lots of crazy things in my life. So now, like, after 18 years, I really feel like I started peaking at about maybe 14 years, where I started officially actually making a name for myself, because the Pacific Northwest no longer was a black hole, and I'd spent some time down in Florida, and I'd hooked up with some really cool people, people like Paige and the Knight family, and Chris Hero, and Ricardo Rodriguez, and Sue Young, and these people became really good friends of mine, and that helped me later on in my career and helped me now, like guys like Serpentico, and I hooked back up with Luther, and like all these guys, they come in, they do seminars, because my whole goal now in wrestling is just to build the Pacific Northwest. I'm an old man, I'm never going to get signed, but if I can build this Pacific Northwest so no people are dealing with the predators, so people aren't dealing with the bullshit promoters of you've got 2 places to work in this entire area, and we're going to tell you you're allowed to work 1. And all the bullshit that I dealt with 18 years ago, I'm helping to make sure that this area isn't like that anymore. So, yeah, I'm middle-aged and crazy, and it's just like Terry Funk says, because I think you take enough headshots, you just become that way. But, yeah, that is the story of Drexl, as I start to ramble.
That's all awesome, right. Man. That's all right. Hey, but some quick fires out of there. Just from the get go. Congratulations on the longevity of DOA. Like I'm just saying, like congratulations for that.
Right.
We're at the best that we've ever been right now. We're averaging about 350 to 400 people per show, and I'm not spending a big budget flying in all these names and stuff. We might have one fly in per show. I am basing an entire show around Pacific Northwest. I'm basing an entire show around story-driven and character-driven wrestling, and it seems to be working because the fans keep coming back. Yeah.
That's amazing, man.
Thank you.
I also do, forgive me if I'm wrong, correct me if I'm wrong, but, there is somebody that's, in DOA there with you that has been explained to me as your prodigy. And, this girl is, in my mind, like, she's the strongest woman. She is one of the best female. And, me and Nemean talk about this all the time. It doesn't matter female to male. That don't matter to me. She is one of the best independent professional wrestlers I have seen. I've gotten to see her inside and outside. I've seen her working shows at the front door and all that. But, can you tell us a little bit about Amira?
Amira is... So the way I look at it, because early on I tried to mentor people, and I learned really quick that like you can drag a horse to water, but you can't make them drink. And so I tend not to waste my time with. I mean, I will help anyone that's putting in any effort, and that includes. That's why the DOA shows end up having 10, 11 matches and things like that, for the fact that I am trying to find spots for all these people so that they can get better and get up to that prestige, that defy level, get on that level to start flying around and getting out of the Pacific Northwest. Because people are so short-sighted, they don't realize that if our talent gets out there, it helps bring more eyes back on us, and it also makes our company look better. And so that's my whole goal with DOA and building these people up. And so over the years, you know, there's certain people that I've kind of taken a fancy to as far as trying to help, and it can go back as far as like Sonico. Prestige essentially married me and Sonico together at the start of Prestige about 6 years ago, and me and Sonico worked about a 1.5 year feud. His very first hardcore match ever was against me, and he was very nervous about that. And it was false count anywhere. And I remember him like, well, what are we going to do? And I said, well, we got this, we got this, we got this. And he's like, yeah, but what about all the, like, you just mentioned like 7 things. We've got an entire like 20-something minute match to plan. I said, kid, we're going to work. And I helped start teaching him from being someone that was in the back just calling out an entire match to learning how to work in the ring. And now, like, you can't book that kid without him going, hey, can I make this hardcore? Because he found the love in it, like, from me. And then you can go from him to a Jaden. And Jaden and his whole development as a superhero is very much, you ask him, and it's very much tied directly to me and helping him develop this character of not just stealing Hurricane Helms, but being able to take bits and pieces from random cartoons and anime. And you can go from Jaden to Kid Bandit. I wrestled Kid Bandit month 2 of her career. And the first time I worked her was down in Vegas, and it was for Super Beast and for Dark Arts. And Bandit, I was told specifically, teach them how to work. Because the first show they did in month 1, I believe they jumped off like a balcony area and knocked themselves or knocked their opponent out and stuff. So I went in there with Bandit, and like I had never seen someone so unique with their movement, you being able to incorporate the kung fu. Sorry, I was pulling stuff down. I get into my stories. But so like unique in the kung fu, and then also with their character, but they start calling stuff like, I'm gonna do this and do this and do this and this and it was really amazing. And I just kind of stared blankly at them, and I said, that's really cool. I've been doing this a long time, and you lost me about halfway through that. Like, if I can't even picture it, how are the fans gonna picture it? I said, let's take that all that cool stuff you can do, and let's break that up into 3 different sections, and we're going to give pauses in here. Why? Because the fans can only digest so much, and so you've got the beginning that they remember, and then they see the end. And do you want that whole big middle section of cool stuff that you've done just to become blah 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 movement, or do you want to get the most out of it so that they're going to cheer and they're going to pop and they're going to react the way and so I started working with Bandit on that. And at that point, Bandit had told me that the SoCal area of California were like, no, this anime stuff, don't do that. That's stupid. That's killing wrestling. And I said, no. That's what you are. That is what you're going to embrace. You embrace your flaws. You embrace your geekiness. You embrace your love for that culture and then incorporate it in a different way. Like, don't go steal from other wrestlers. I hate that. Don't go just steal from another wrestler. There are so many sources of creative influence out there, from books, movies, TV, music, all across the board. Whatever you look around, you can find inspiration in the world. And I tell people to go look for that. Don't go steal from another wrestler, because when you steal from these outside things, everyone's like, oh my God, you're so original. Oh, hell no. Something Luther told me a long time ago is there is nothing original in wrestling. You take something, you make it your own. And so that's what I teach these kids. Now on to your question of Amira. Amira was trained here in Portland at the Oregon Pro Wrestling School. That's Ricky Gibson of Midnight Heat. That Ricky Gibson and Eddie Pearl, she would consider her fathers. They're the ones that raised her up from a little one. They're the ones that taught her how to work and stuff in the ring. But I saw someone with a lot of drive that I met first as a fan. I think her first show was the first Prestige Roseland show. And so I was probably one of the first wrestlers she met. And at one point she said I was her favorite wrestler, which is really cool because I'm just this old weirdo that doesn't really wrestle. I just go out there and I make moments. See, but I saw her hard work, and I saw someone with a natural ability, the same way that I saw in Jaden, the same way especially that I saw in Kid Bandit. And so I told promoters about her. I helped her get out there. And essentially I said, jump in my car, kid. And if you, like, I'm busy every single weekend. If you want to get booked on these shows, feel free to jump in the car and make these connections. So I'm doing that with her. I'm also doing that currently with the Flaming Aces because I see something in Zay and Spencer. Both of those kids are just killing it right now. The Hammer Brothers are phenomenal. For as young of a team as they are, like Jack's got a little bit more experience in wrestling with a different version of himself, but Jack and Sledgehammer are killing it here. And I mean, it literally, it inspires me to help all these kids now because, like, Oregon Pro Wrestling School is just phenomenal, the kids that are coming out. So, yes, Amira, her gimmick, the strong woman gimmick, it's not a gimmick. That's her. And I try to tell people, like, don't tell me, like, if you got a shish body, don't tell me what a great athlete you are because everyone's going to, they know it's bullshit. And so Amira is a physical, a fitness instructor. She's a queen of Zumba. She calls herself Squirrel Girl. That's what she meant. She's like, Mah! And she doesn't stop. She's like pure caffeine. And so, you know, she's got that. And now I'm helping to mold to get that character and get the emotional connection, which she already has this natural ability. I'm just helping to bring it out. And I want to help her with her promos and things like that. But yeah, I've taken her under my wing as yet another little protege to help, you know, just bring along and try to give this nice mixture of, like, I don't know, it took me a long time to get to the point where I'm at. And if I can save a whole lot of years and a whole lot of injuries to people's necks and things like that I've dealt with, then I'm going to do it because nothing would make me more proud is to see these kids get signed and make a whole lot of money. And if they're at one day someone's like, I want to thank Drexl for what they did for my career, then I feel like I made it. Like that's about the best I could do. But for a guy that started at the age of 30, that was never an athlete. I was a radio DJ. I had a gut from eating things like chili cheese dogs and shit at 4 a.m. because that's what you do in radio. Yeah, whoever you're getting free food from, yep, that's what we're eating today. So. But yeah,
I know that.
As far as Amira, she's got a bright future, and I honestly, if she's still around here in a year, I'll be surprised. I'm pretty sure one of the big companies will end up picking her up. So
that's awesome.
That's what I've been saying too. It was awesome. Everybody else you named there, Kid Bandit is really watching Kid Bandit and your match like that. Really, that opened my eyes. I
gotta thank her for that. That was the most viral thing I've ever done in wrestling was the Indiana Jones spot that I said, hey, have you seen Indiana Jones? And she said, I've seen a few of them. I said, I think it's the first one. And there's this person, they got swords and they're doing all this cool shit. And then Indy just pulls his gun and shoots him. We're going to do that, but with a chair and you're going to do your kendo stick stuff. And they said, okay. I said, but do you trust me? And they said, yes, of course. I said, do you really trust me? And they said, yes. I said, then I know head trauma, CTE, it's bad. But there's an old school way of wrestling. Like I learned from Luther a long time ago that when you hit someone with a chair in the head, there's certain ways of doing it that's going to reduce the impact to your head and things. And I said, I need to just tilt your head like that. Do not move and give me the perfect target, and I will land that chair on your head. And I did, and it worked really good. And we ended up with like over 1 million views for that, and it's the most viral thing I ever did. And what comes out of that is a whole lot of people on the internet telling me that I'm Kratos in God of War, and I've never even played the goddamn game. Like, I admit I steal from lots of shit, but that's not what I've stolen from. So I just want that to make that public, because I don't think I've ever actually got a chance to talk about it. I have nothing to do with Kratos or God of War. I didn't even play the video game. So yeah, screw you, internet troll people.
Well, I'm pretty sure that I'm pretty sure you've been around a lot longer than God of War, so we can we can definitely give that.
Well, I mean, this incarnation with the red and stuff has maybe been about the last decade or so. A long time ago, I was just this punk kid with a mohawk. I once teamed with Jesse Neal for a short time. That was in TNA. Me, Jesse Neal, and Christina Von Erich were known as the Bastards down in Florida. So I got to do some cool stuff like that with my mohawk self, but I wasn't nearly as fun to be around as this version of Drexl.
Man, that's just wow. It's a lot to digest. You've done some things. You've done some things for sure.
I've stayed busy in my life. Like I remember being a child, and my whole goal was don't grow up. Like don't have a real job. Like whatever it takes to not have a real job. I come from a very blue collar family. Like most of my family worked assembly line bullshit, where they did their 9 to 5, and then you got to add on the couple hours of overtime in certain seasons and all that shit. And they wanted me to become an engineer. and I said, that's not really me. Numbers and things and calculations and being told what to do just really didn't fit me at all. So I ended up in radio because I thought of all the entertainment, maybe radio at that point was the best option. But I don't know. So I feel like I have that blue collar work ethic, but at the same time, I am truly an artist at heart. And if I have to work hard to avoid real work, I'm going to do it.
That's our new motto, Nemean. Let's work hard to not do real work. WTFW podcast. Plug. Yeah. Plug. Well, hey, one match in particular, because, man, me and Nemean we've been waiting to ask about this because we were at, what was it? Was it Wake the Dead? Yeah, Wake the Dead in Prestige. Oh, and I haven't said this yet. Big, from me personally, one of the biggest reasons that we've been really wanting to showcase and put a spotlight on the independent scene and the independent promotions is because of none other than Prestige Wrestling. I feel like I'm part of the family. I want to get William on my show eventually. It's like a bucket list item of mine.
I'm sure he'll do it. William likes to talk.
I hope so. And big shout out to Prestige for getting the Globe in California as a new home in California. But me and Nemean,
I'm very upset that I'm not on that show. You can't this is 2 Cali shows in a row where you themed it after Black Flag and then you theme it after Rob Zombie. And how am I not on the show? Like William, I just don't understand that.
You're getting called out right now.
Most wrestlers have never even heard Black Flag. For God's sake.
I will say this: when we got to the Globe, I will say this because not a lot of people know, but I went down to WrestleMania weekend. Yeah. But you linked me up into this show, and it was my first time seeing a show in a parking lot with like 20 people.
It was Circle 6. It was the live stream where Circle 6 was just running different shows every single hour that were themed out or in cooperation with another company. It was a really fun thing that just kept going and rolling for like 3 days straight. So
right. We get down there and we see that, and there's I got introduced to a whole new. I talked to Nemean about the Iguana Man. Okay, like I saw some weird shit. Okay, but after that, we went to the Globe, and I gotta agree with you. Like we put everything in fire or trash or lunchable terms. And William, I gotta say this: Prestige Wrestling. I gotta say this. Where was Drexl? I saw everybody else on that show at Prestige. I saw everybody at Prestige at the underground, no holds barred, no ring Murder Mania I went to too. But where was Drexl? I'm just saying. I mean, exactly. That's trash. You should be on that show.
If people want to be internet trolls, I'm perfectly fine with you trolling Williams saying that Drexl needs to be on every single Prestige show. Because even the very first show, I was already booked, so I couldn't do it. But I sent my valet at the time, Carlina Gore, down with a shirt. She kendo sticked Sonico in the head and then put my shirt. So even though I wasn't physically at the first Prestige show, my face was, and that was the introduction to head into this feud with me and Sonico early on in Prestige. Prestige. But yes, I feel like I should be on every single Prestige show too. And William tells me he just needs he doesn't want to give me bullshit, because after things like Danger Aaron, he says, I'm a special attraction, and I understand that. But I feel like I could be a special attraction doing whatever. So yeah, tell people you want to see me on all the Prestige shows, because I want to be there personally.
We will. It's 100%. But speaking of the Danger Aaron show, hey, Nemean, you go ahead and take this one. Like, what do you want to ask him about that incredible, insane, stupid, unbelievable trampoline y'all had? I'll let you take this one.
The barbed wire trampoline, like Kanye Twitty was saying, man. I agree. Let's troll William, because you should be on it. You made that show worth going to just for that match alone. Yeah, no, it's the spots that you do and the harm you put your body through just for us fans, and what you do is amazing, man. So shout out to you, and yeah, let's
thank you so much.
Let's get you on every Prestige show.
Every Prestige show.
I need to wrestle in more states, and I know they're going to keep popping up in more states. And if he's not booking me on it, then I can't cross those states off the list. So,
well, hey, speaking of, let's do some crazy stuff you've done. I got a couple, random questions. All right, so what's the craziest bump you've ever taken, and what's the craziest bump you've given to somebody else?
So, do you want like crazy bump that ends badly, or do you want crazy bump that is like awesome spectacle and is what it's supposed to be? I'll give you two.
All right.
Year one of DOA, so this is approximately about 15 years ago, I agreed to do a flaming table spot where I am going to get super bombed off the top through a table that's set on fire. The guy that's doing this with me has reassured me that he's done this spot before up in Canada. And I say, okay. And he goes, no, you don't want to get lighter fluid. You want to get charcoal fluid. And so that's what they go by, is charcoal fluid. See, what I don't realize is that when you pour a table with charcoal fluid and you go to light, it won't light. So you pour some more charcoal fluid and you go to light and it won't light. And then you've covered the entire table with an entire bottle of charcoal fluid, and then you light, and you get this tiny little flame that it's horrible. It's like negative 10 degrees, and your balls are shrunk up in that kind of small is what we're talking about. It's a little tiny flame, and you're like, okay, we just gotta go. And the guy goes and gives you this big super power bomb off the top, and at that point, all the fluids go to the center, and there's a big fucking explosion, and like a fireball shoots up in the air, and the entire ring catches on fire and ends up burning through the padding and the canvas and scorches the wood underneath. Luckily, the guy that was getting thrown through there smelled burning as soon as I hit it, and I shot out of that ring onto the cold cement floor, and I ended up with 3 probably about second-degree burns about that big on my back. So originally at one point, I really considered fire bad, because there's other incidents where fire was bad at DOA and stuff. But then on the opposite end of the thing, during COVID, I went out to do No Peace Underground, and it was the Jamie Singal show. It was an entire show that Jamie herself, she got to book and stuff. And Jamie wanted me to be in the main event. So it was myself versus Zicky Dice versus Colby Carino. And I'd seen them do this spot, I forget with who, but they had done a flaming sheet of glass before. And I said, that's pretty cool. It looks pretty good, like you're hitting the glass, fire go out, probably not going to set yourself on fire. Probably not. And so I had told Sue Young, hey, I will totally do something like that. If she's going to put me in the main event, I'm going to make sure and make a spectacle for that finish of that match. And so I show up, and the Orlando Death Squad, who are the guys that build all the weapons and stuff down there for No Peace Underground, they're like, oh, no, we don't got one sheet of glass. Check this out. and they have like this like baker's rack thing, and in sliding into it are 2 sheets of glass, and then on the bottom is a door. And they said, we're going to wheel this whole thing out, and we're going to put the lighter fluid on the top of all the glass, and we're going to light all that up. And I said, okay. And so No Peace is a company that doesn't have a ring. So what we did is we set this whole monstrosity up on the floor, and then I'm up on the stage, and I tried to throw Zicky Dice off the stage, but Zicky turned it around, picked me up, and just hucked my ass, powerbombed me through it. And I bounced off the floor. And it was really, really cool, and it was a spectacle. And I walked away relatively unharmed because I didn't have big burns all over my body that I had to keep putting salve on for weeks and stuff, and I didn't end up in a hospital. So when I don't end up in a hospital and people said, oh my God, that's cool, then it was definitely a success. So that's probably the craziest bump I've done. I don't know. People, what crazy bumps that I've given to people. I mean, I've driven people head first through things several times. Usually, I've taken to giving pile drivers on pointy, sharp things. I do that a lot. That's probably not one of the smartest things, but at my point in my career, especially in the Pacific Northwest, I really am one of the only specialists in hardcore, and I'm definitely the only ongoing deathmatch guy based in the Pacific Northwest. So I kind of find that a majority of my matches, the guys don't have as much experience. So I'm the one holding hands and trying to up their game and get them to do the more and more crazy things. Like for me personally, when I watch a Nick Wayne match, the shit he does with his flips and the height that he gets, that feels way more dangerous than like me rolling around in some thumbtacks and shoving them in my own head to headbutt someone. Like that almost sounds like just normal compared to like the cool athletic shit that these other people do. So,
well, speaking of tacks, you gave me a tack out of your very own head. When you were in that danger
souvenirs,
match,
I like to give really personal souvenirs. You got some of my DNA, and I don't know if I think I was in the ring, so I always try to tell people, because normally I'll wait until I get to the merchandise table, and then I start pulling things that are stuck in my body, and I hand it up to people that are coming up asking for autographs, but I always got to tell them, my DNA is on there, but don't clone me. Because if you end up with a little Drexl clone, you're going to have to crate train it, and it's going to have a temperament issue, and you just don't want to have to deal with that. So I just make sure anyone that gets anything that comes out of my body and my DNA is all over it, to please just don't clone me, because I didn't reproduce, and I don't think you should reproduce me either.
I have a feeling, Nemean, that he still is crate trained.
I'm a good boy. I don't go in the house.
Well, that so much to pull away. I gotta be honest with you. You are the main crazy mofo, deathmatch person I've seen in the Northwest. I've seen some matches other people have done. I haven't gotten to see both you and Funny Bone at the same time. He's one that I've heard of, but you definitely take the cake in my mind of as one of the craziest sons of bitches I have ever seen in the ring in my life.
Without a doubt.
I appreciate it. I'm so inspired by the old school style of hardcore, the FMW or the old Mick Foley, Terry Funk. I mean, essentially this version of Drexl started as just a ripoff of Dr. Luther from FMW, from his mid-90s, early mid-90s run in FMW, where I started out in a white jumpsuit with blood splatter all over it and came out just chucking chairs in the ring, because that's what I saw Luther do on FMW. And at that point, when this monster version of myself came out, it was a point where all the indie wrestlers, they wanted to be wrestlers. They had to have their little tights, and they had to have their kick pads, and they had to be able to do all their intricate chaining and stuff. And I said, I'm going to go the opposite way. No one's a monster. No one's doing that. And now it's crazy because there's so many monsters everywhere. So I don't know. I feel kind of trend-setting, like I was bringing back the old, because no one was stealing from the 80s. Everyone wanted to steal from all the cool indie 90s and the 2000s and stuff. And I'm like, give me a missing link, and that's going to make me happy. And so that's kind of where Drexl developed from that.
Yeah, I feel like you definitely helped pave the way.
Hi, kitty. I love animals. Hi, kitty. Oh, I see you.
Yeah, this is Billy. She makes an appearance on a lot of the shows, knocking things over,
I closed my door so Sin didn't come in here because he'll start barking and he gets mad at Drexl. Drexl gets too loud for the puppy and he gets very upset by it. So everyone's like, why don't you bring your dog to wrestling? And I was like, it'd probably just end badly. And he's there in cartoon form at my merchandise table, and that's good enough.
Awesome. Hey, what do you have? Because this episode, this is gonna air here on Wednesday. So, if you got something coming up, I want people to know. You could tell them maybe you want to give them your home address or your Twitter or what. I don't know how you do it. If you gave me a home address, I'm not coming. I'm telling you that right now. I ain't coming anywhere.
They can find me on social media. Pretty much just look up the Devil Drexl, Drexl, and Devil Drexl. You can find me on most social media platforms that way. And then, as far as shows, this coming weekend, I got Vancouver Island Pro. So I got to take a boat to a show where I got to drive up into Washington, and then I got to get a ferry to go to Vancouver Island, and I got 2 shows up there. And then the week after that is the next Prestige Roseland, where it's me and Effie. Me versus Daddy. I have a play date with Daddy, and I believe we're going to do some really effed up shit to each other. I don't know. Did you see Mance Warner and Effie, and they stapled their tongues together? Yeah. But I got a date with Daddy. And that's coming up. That's going to be really fun. Huh? What?
We should do that, Nemean. You and me should do that.
Yeah.
Nice try, bud. You've been trying to kiss me ever since we met.
I just got to paper cut Eli Everfly's tongue. He's got that really cool tongue that's like raw, and I got to paper cut it. That was really fun. It's the little things that entertain me. Last night, a kid from Canada, Judas Icarus, he's part of a tag team called Satan Sinners. They're really good. They're from New up there, and he wrestles barefoot, and I got to paper cut his toes, and I've only got to paper cut 3 different people's toes. One of them was Jacob Fatu. And every time now that I see Jacob Fatu's family and they see me, they're like, Oos! You paper cutted Oos's toes. That was fucked up. And I say, yeah. And I'm like, I'm glad you remember. I did my job. But those are upcoming. DOA, we got some shows coming up in Portland on not Cinco de Mayo, the day after, May 6th, and then on May 7th there'll be some really good stuff going on there. And then I just my normal spots, my normal haunts, and I'm sure some other cool stuff will be coming up. Life is kind of a blur. I feel like I wrestle every single weekend. So if you check my social medias, you'll see where all my upcoming appearances are, because that's pretty much what you find on my social media. You'll find some pictures of my dog, and then you'll see where I'm wrestling and maybe me spouting off about something. But yeah, I don't give out my home address, and it would probably just end badly. Or people want to take my toys. I got my toys all over and stuff, and I don't want them to take them.
I'm not asking. I'm not even gonna ask. Hey, next up, this is something, like I said, you are the first interview we have gotten to have, from the actual industry on the WTFW podcast. And by the way, I think that should be a type of match. You could take that with DOA. I think there should be a WTFW match where everything you do or everything you think of has to be something that ain't nobody else done. The whole point of the match is to get people to say, what?
Speaking of that, I want to do something that doesn't get done here, and no promoters will let me have a Piranha Tank death match. I want one, and they're all like, no, PETA, and people will be offended. And what I said is that we're feeding Piranha fresh blood. I promise I'm not going to crush a piranha. I just want to take someone's body, or even my own body, and bleed all over and get shoved in that Piranha Tank fingernail, and they're starting nibbling. And it's like fresh meat for them. We're not harming the piranha. So I want to start a petition to allow me and like a promotion to do a piranha tank death match out here in America before I retire, because that'd just be really fun. I have a list here. It is things I want to fight or be fighting around, and there's a bunch of crazy stuff on there. But number 2, there's piranhas. I mean, there's also bears and robots and mutants and zombies and Klingons and Justin Bieber, fuck him, and Godzilla and the Sawyer family and Santa and a shit monster. Yeah, I would totally fight a shit monster from Dogma, but yeah, it's a whole list of things I want to fight.
Wow.
What were we talking about?
I don't know. I don't know. Well, here's the thing. We got something new for everybody that comes on the show. Like I explained to you off air, everything about WTFW. One more time, we are on the WWE podcast. Big shout out to our boss man for allowing us a platform for our show where we spotlight whatever it is. And since you're our first interview, we wanted to make sure we did this from now on. Nemean's gonna have a list of 5 things for you, and it's a simple answer. It's one or the other. It's either fire or it's trash.
Have you ever had a porcupine quill shoved in your head?
No, I haven't.
Ow. Sorry. Go on. Mean. Go ahead and take this one. You got your list?
Yeah.
All right. So all we want to know is if you think it's fire or trash. Here you go. Go ahead.
Fire, trash, or a Lunchable.
Yeah. Well, let's just start off real quick about this podcast. What let's go. Let's start with that.
I'm going to say fire. I had fun spouting off my rhetoric, and you guys just let me ramble. So that's always fun. I like talking about myself because I am an artist. I do have a little bit of ego. I do vanity check myself on Google occasionally.
Fire!
That's fire.
All right.
The UFC.
Used to be fire, now Lunchable. I really was a fan of the UFC before, but now they've just made it so difficult. You have to buy so many different things to be able to see what the hell is going on, and like they've become too greedy for a company where they want us to pay all this shit. But then I hear the fighters talking about like I ain't getting paid, dick. So I believe UFC at one time was fire. I've gone to live shows. The very first show they did in Detroit, I think it was like number 15 or 16. I'm front row. You can find this weird purple-haired guy with kind of long hair that has a shirt that says Riff, and I worked at that radio station. I'm in the front row. And I believe the main fight for that was Ken Shamrock versus Dan Severn. So I'm an old school fan. But like I've just lost interest. I don't even know who half the fighters are anymore because it's too difficult to be able to keep up with the product on their current platform.
Lunchable. I agreed. I'm just saying. Go ahead. I know. Go ahead, Nemean. Go ahead.
That's fair. So let's see. Hip hop music.
Current hip hop music, it's kind of trash. I'm not a big fan. I'm much more of an old school guy. Give me a real MC and not some guy that just rhymes the same word over and over again, and the mumble hip hop and all that crap doesn't entertain me. Give me a true lyricist. I long for the days of the Andre 3000s and stuff like that. So.
Hey, man, I love that.
Salute there. I agreed again.
Yeah, me and Kanye are a little bit old school ourselves, so we'll both agree with you on that one.
I feel the same thing about rock music. Like, I love the accessibility of digital recording, but at the exact same time, they've sucked all the soul out of music because there is no slight flubs, there is no changes. It is all just completely pitch perfect, and it's just record that little part and we're just going to loop it, and don't worry, like, just let's eliminate any of the soul out of the music and the feeling out of it. And that's kind of my problem with all modern music. Like finding a modern song that actually makes you really feel something. I sometimes think maybe it's my age and my cold black heart and all the head trauma, but I can watch something on TV and cry like a little baby. So it's not that. Like I still feel things, but I have trouble feeling for modern day music. Give me something with a little bit of balls or a little bit of soul that actually is speaking and saying something and not just trying to I can't even sell albums, just trying to get views anymore. So
message.
Right.
Right.
Oh man.
All right. What's number 4?
Number 4, pizza.
Fire. I mean, hey, there is trash pizza, but I don't go to those places. I'm a fan of all different types of pizza. In Detroit, it makes me laugh now that everyone has a Detroit pizza, and I'm like, okay, so just the greasy, real thick dough, just kind of like bake it in a pan. It's got those crispy cheese edges, which are pretty good. All right, now that's a popular thing. I'm okay with that. I like New York. I'm a big fan of Chicago deep dish when done correctly. The problem is most people don't do it correctly because you need that sweet sauce. You need the really sweet sauce, and you really need that thickness in the bill. And literally that pie crust is not a pizza crust. It is damn near a pie crust on it. And when done correctly, I love a good Chicago deep dish, but it's really hard to find anywhere.
Agreed. What
Right,
do you got for the last one?
Last one, video games.
I am kind of lunchable. I mean, I appreciate video games, but I don't have enough time to play in my life. And sometimes I feel when I do have time to play, for some reason I get the stigma in my head that tells me, no, you're being a kid and you're not getting shit done. You're playing your goddamn video games. And maybe it's because I used to get yelled at about playing my goddamn video games all the time as a child. So I don't get to play as much as I want. And then also sometimes, like when I do sit down to relax, I want to sit down and relax. And modern day video games, they're kind of stressful. They're kind of hard, and I got to put way too much effort into it. And like I was a big fan of the Telltale games when the Telltales were coming out, which was essentially like a choose your own adventure, but in video game form, where I could pay attention. But it's essentially like I'm saying all right, yeah, he's gonna say this, now this is gonna happen, and maybe I gotta hit a button here or there. But it's not that like doing 2 joysticks and 16 buttons and trying to pay attention and like in everything. And so I do play a little bit, but it's not a big part of my life. So I got to go with Lunchable. As of recently, I don't have the new WWE. I got last year's, and I made it through the creative player male storyline and about halfway through the female storyline right now. And then I've been playing Friday the 13th, that one that came out a while ago. I've been playing that, and that's in preparation. I also got Evil Dead, and I played that a few times, but not as much as I would like to. But I do want to play the new Texas Chainsaw Massacre when that does come out. That looks really fun, and I'm so attracted to those characters, and they're some of my favorites. Especially getting to be the hitchhiker is what, like, everyone can be Leatherface and other things, but getting to be the hitchhiker with his little switchblade knife and stuff. I'm really hoping that Chop Top, who is a huge inspiration towards Drexl, but Chop Top, if they end up with him as a downloadable character to be part of the family, then I'm in hog heaven. And that's going to be one of those points where I just check out for like a weekend, and like I just stop responding to people on the phone or anything, and my wife has to come find me and just bring me food because I won't leave the TV. I will just play for like 2 days straight. And yeah, I kind of a little obsessive.
That's legit. That is legit. Well, wow. Yeah, Nemean, you got anything to add before I, take us out of here?
No, I don't think I could have asked for any more, man. It was great.
No. This is exactly what we want to do. It's because here at WTFW, the channel we're on is the WWE. They have the review shows. They talk about AEW and all the big, major promotions. But I'm gonna say it again. Prestige changed my life, and the professional wrestlers that I've seen through there, and now up in SOS. Now you got a DOA, Defy, Big Timber Pro Wrestling. It is just
down in Eugene.
Yeah, it's opened up so much, and I like the big big promotions. Yeah, I do, but there's just something different about seeing what you guys do at the level that you do it at such a high level. I mean, there's some amazing professional wrestlers I've seen.
It's part of the beauty of the life right now, as far as on the creative side, and being able to have so many different things at your fingertips and at your disposal, and with independent wrestling, it gives you that alternative to, as far as storylines, if you want something that's a little bit more on edge, or maybe like the stuff on TV, because you've got little ones, maybe that is a little too edgy, and there is the family friendly companies and stuff. Like I had a company come up to me at Crimson Crown during Mania week. And he said, "Hey, we run a company down here. It's a smaller company, but we're very family friendly." And he's like, I saw you yesterday at the Relentless show or the Pandemonium show, or he said the owner of the company saw me the day before at Pandemonium and Relentless. Then he saw me at Crimson, and he said the owner he was so enamored over that paper cut stuff that you do, and it just brought such emotions that we want to bring you in, but we are family friendly. And I said, that fine, because that's the beauty of wrestling, is like, when I get hired by a company, what do you want from me? Because I can take it to the extremes and I could offend almost anyone, but I can also go out there and I could be the scary monster to scare the child, or I could be that child's scary monster that he sends underneath the bed to take care of the boogeyman. So whatever the part that needs to be filled, I'm here to fill it.
That's
like
amazing.
A Twinkie. Filling in a Twinkie so good. I could eat that all day.
There's the soundbite for the Twitter right there, the Twinkie. The Twinkie, because that's fire. Twinkies are fire.
Deep fried Twinkies. That's where it's really at.
I had a deep fried Twinkie down in Venice Beach when I was at WrestleMania week. I will say that it was amazing. It was fire.
Oh yeah, you deep fry anything and it just makes it better.
Yeah.
Spoken like a true athlete.
Well, like I said, man, I can't thank you enough for coming on the show. Like, for real,
I appreciate it.
This is a neat experience, and it's going to bring you to a whole nother audience. Who knows? Maybe you'll inspire another little crazy psychotic kid to do some crazy psychotic weird shit. You don't have
to be crazy. Just think for yourself. Be creative and develop that character that speaks to you. I tell everyone, embrace your flaws. When you embrace your flaws, that is what the wrestling fans are really going to get emotionally invested into. Because most of the wrestling fans, we're not athletes. We're not a Kurt Angle. We're not an Olympic athlete. We're not spending 6 days a week in the gym working out and have the best body and looking absolutely amazing like I'm an Adonis. And if I walk into a bar and I do this, everyone comes running. I'm the most popular person in that place. That's not how most people live their lives. Most people live their lives as an underdog, especially in today's reality. And most people feel underappreciated. And so if you can give them something that they can relate to, where they understand, it could be some weird quirk with your anger in the wrestling ring where something just sets you off. And you as a fan, you understand because that one little thing, someone says that one little thing and you just snap and you understand that. And it's those flaws that make us connect to the fans. And I'm trying to, I want to embrace your flaws, and I try to teach that to people. And a lot of look at me like I'm crazy, but it's worked for me.
Yeah, no, that's amazing, man. Yeah, right.
Well, yeah, I ain't got nothing else. This has been absolute fabulous. This is fire.
Yeah, it's been an honor, man.
I love Absolutely Fabulous. That was a fine show. Like, I can remember at one point in my life, I used to party like those two crazy women. I've done a lot of crazy things in my life, but Absolutely Fabulous, fine show.
Awesome. Hey, from us to you, thank you so much for coming on the show, for real.
Thank
and
you for being on
everybody
my
out there,
show. You don't know, I was recording this all too in my head. So you guys were on the Drexl show today.
Awesome.
Awesome. Everybody out there listening, and for the first time, you'll be able to watch this, and see the video. I am Kanye Twitty. That is
Nemean Ryan.
Drexl, the homicidal maniac.
I'm a
And one of the
homicidal artist. A
homicidal
maniac is a
artist.
dime a dozen. Like a long time ago, being crazy meant something. Nowadays, everybody's crazy, but I am the only fully functioning homicidal artist of pro wrestling, and I prove it each and every week.
And that is facts. That is 100% facts. Make sure, all you listeners out there, go follow this man on social media. Get your butt to a show. If you see,
do it soon because I could die. I'm really old and I'm really stupid. So if you want to see me live, you got to do it pretty soon because Lord knows what could happen. I mean, like I said, me and Effie are going to do some really messed up stuff to each other. And who knows? Like, if it wasn't in Oregon, I'm sure if it happened in another state, we could get arrested for some of the shit we might do.
I can't wait to see it because I will be there. Got my tickets today. William, got my tickets today. Get on our show.
Yeah, William.
And put Drexl on every Prestige show, especially in California right now. All right.
I mean, I'm a ring announcer. I'm a hell of a ring announcer.
Yeah, but Evie, though. Like, I got a lot of love for.
I'll fight Evie. we'll fight each other, and then I will take his spot. Except when we have Japanese stars, because I can't speak Japanese, so we need them for that. But maybe I got it. I'll just partly cripple Evie, and then I can drag him out like a puppet, and I'll just shove my hand up rectally, and I can control him, and he can speak in the Japanese to do the introduction, but I'm going to do the rest of the introductions. and Evie's going to be my Muppet. He's going to call me Jim Henson.
Oh, but Evie, it has been laid out. The challenge has been either there's got to be a match happening or you're just going to be turned into a Muppet. Either way, I can't wait to see it.
Evie Muppet time.
All right. Well, hey, this has been fun. This has been fun. This is our hour-long show. I got these allergies and these cats driving me bonkers, but hey, thank you. It has been an absolute honor from us to you. Like, we're gonna have to bring you on here again. I think there's gonna have to be a part 2 to this at some point.
Sure, I'll talk about whatever.
Well then, hey, from Kanye, Twitty, and Nemean line, this has been the Drexl Experience. The homicidal
art doors or whatever those fancy words are.
We always try to figure out a title for the show, and it's gonna be something like that. But come at us at WTFW Trash on the Twitter, the Instagram, the Tickety Tack, and be prepared because we got more interviews coming along the way. I know there's some people that you know personally, and like I said, if I'm ever on an interview with one of these guys and you want to call in, I won't stop you. We do got the skinny ref, Brad Lee, coming up, getting an interview.
He's a fine weapons builder. I'm gonna give Bradley, like, he's very good at. I've kind of mentored him a little bit on how to build things correctly for these matches, and I will give him credit that amazing barbed wire trampoline, that was all Bradley's construction. He headed that up. It was my idea. I said I wanted to do it. I made William go buy all the shit, but then I sent Bradley over there and he made it better than I would have. If the way I would have done it, I probably would have snapped it and fell through it, but it supported me and Akira, and we bounced, and it kind of sucked, the whole bouncing, because every time it kept going, but it was really cool looking.
Well, also we got we already just talked about them, and there's going to be some challenges. I think a few just started on the WTFW podcast. We got Evie coming on the show from Prestige, and one of my favorite ring announcers of all time. He'll be coming up here on the show. And then we also got a young girl, a young professional wrestler from up north that I'm actually rocking the shirt right now.
90s kid. I like her. She's a good
90s
kid.
Murphy Madsen. She's actually on the road right now on her way home.
Yeah.
And she's going to be hitting me up. We're going to get that interview on the way, too. So
I
so
saw
much
her
more to
yesterday
come.
at POW. She's a good kid. I like her.
Absolutely. So, hey, that's it. That's how it is. And this is the WTFW podcast. You got anything left to leave them with, Drexl? It's the floor is yours. Send them home with it.
Don't ish where you eat. Remember that. That's just a rule in general. I know the Pacific Northwest needs to learn that right currently. Don't ish where you eat. That's the advice of the day. All right. Bye-bye.
Later, y'all. WTFW podcast. We out. Booyah.